After a BYU cheer coach was struck by a water bottle, university police have made an arrest. We have those details coming up.
A school in Harriman has opened their arms and auditorium to help students in their community put on a show.
Today's storm moving on. We welcome in dry air, giving us a break from the storms. But for how long? I'll answer that in the forecast.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Evans. Kelly Chapman is working mornings this week. Our top story tonight, police at the University of Utah made an arrest after some fans got out of hand at the end of the BYU-Utah game Saturday night. Fox 13 News reporter Avery Klanowski shows us what happened.
Rivalry games can be filled with passionate fans. Toward the end of the BYU versus Utah game, people in the stands started throwing things. Video shows BYU cheer coach Jocelyn Allen getting hit with a water bottle. She reportedly lost consciousness. University of Utah police made an arrest Tuesday afternoon. 18-year-old William Gardner was charged with assault, a Class A misdemeanor. The university says Gardner is not a student at the U. Saturday night, BYU defeated Utah with a last-second field goal. In Salt Lake City, Avery Klanowski, Fox 13 News, Utah.
New at 9, Salt Lake City police have arrested a man accused of stabbing another man and 2 dogs. Police say this happened at the Motel 6 at 176 West 600 South in downtown last night. Officers say Carl Henry argued with a motel employee after their dogs started fighting, stabbed his dog, then him, multiple times. The suspect is also accused of stabbing his own dog in the neck and then taking off. This morning, officers arrested Henry when he returned to the motel. Police say hotel employees suffered non-life-threatening injuries. No word on the condition of the dogs. A wild horse was found dead from a gunshot wound on a wildlife refuge in Tooele County. The Palomino stallion was found in the Onaqui herd management area just outside Dugway on Sunday. The Bureau of Land Management is investigating. The Wild Beauty Foundation is offering a $2,500 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction in this case. Corey Richens will remain behind bars in the Summit County Jail until she faces a jury in her murder trial next year. Richens is charged with poisoning her husband Eric with a lethal dose of fentanyl in March of 2022. Last month, Richens and her defense team asked for her bail conditions to be reconsidered to allow her to be released from jail. She was originally denied bail in 2023 when she faced the death penalty. Now that the state is no longer seeking the death penalty, Richens wants to be released until her trial.
As before, the severity of these sanctions, put plainly, of potentially dying in prison, creates a powerful incentive for defendant to harm herself or witnesses in this case and to flee the jurisdiction of the court.
The judge also denied motions from Richens' defense team to split some of the charges and to seat 12 jurors for trial instead of just 8. Caught on camera, police in Logan need your help finding this individual you see on your screen. They're accused of stealing or slashing American and Trump flags in 5 separate incidents since last Thursday on the west side of town in the area of 400 and 500 North. If you know who this person is, call Logan Police. Take a look at this. Someone driving an SUV crashed into a 7-Eleven in downtown Salt Lake this morning. Happened at 414 East 2nd South. Police believe the driver accidentally hit the gas instead of the brakes. No one was hurt, but the SUV had to be pulled out of the store with a tow truck. A judge in Salt Lake City has refused to dismiss a lawsuit filed by the state of Utah against TikTok. It accuses the social media behemoth of crafting addictive algorithms that harm the mental health of Utah's young people. Today, a judge rejected TikTok's request to throw out the litigation. That means the case will proceed to trial. The judge says the state's lawsuit alleges serious harm that ought to be heard in court. So far, no comment from TikTok. A campus is flooding and forcing students to switch to a remote learning schedule. Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gubi shows us how another school has opened its doors to help.
Many people have tried to hurt me, but my son, you dare hurt my son?
Bringing Harry Potter and the Cursed Child to life on stage
Poor kid thought he had to save the world.
by students at Providence Hall High School.
I was introduced to Harry Potter by my grandma, and we watched all the movies together, so I really wanted to do this for her.
Boston Taylor is a senior, so this is his last high school performance, which was supposed to be last week. But infrastructure had other plans.
We had a flood situation where the main water line inside of the building broke.
That was on October 27th. Since then, the school has been working on renovations to fix the water damage, and students have been learning remotely. But a part that was pretty badly impacted is their stage and gym.
The water unfortunately got underneath the stage and compromised all of that area.
So the kids that worked so hard to perform couldn't.
Pretty sad to hear that because me and one of the techies, Landon, we worked really hard on the set the night, like the weekend before, and it ended up having to get torn down, so that was pretty gut-wrenching.
The school reached out to the Jordan School District to see if they had another space for them. Fort Harriman Middle School answered that call.
If we can help, we're going to do it. It wasn't like a hard thing. You know, it's another school. We like breathe the same air, speak the same language. Even though I don't necessarily know who they are, I know the kind of people that are in education. And obviously I want to help them, and also the student. I want them, they put work in to do their play. Why wouldn't we want to help them be able to complete it and fulfill maybe a dream?
So now these high schoolers have a new space to practice and perform.
How willing they are to support each other, and I just think it was awesome that such a thing could happen.
Because after all, the show must go on.
Don't say anything about how or when.
It was a little sad to see the set that we'd worked so hard on go, but we are going to be remaking it on this stage, and I'm very excited to.
Providence Hall's production of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child opens here at Fort Harriman Middle School on November 21st. And with every line performed is so much gratitude to everyone who made this possible. In Harriman, I am Maithili Gubi, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, the snow had pretty much cleared out for tonight's commute, but it was a different story this morning in northern Utah. Fox 13 News spoke with drivers who were in the middle of it this morning.
Went from tropical storm to a blizzard real quick. So I drove from Salt Lake. It was just raining really hard in Salt Lake, and then the closer I got to Tooele coming through Erder and stuff, it started turning to snow.
I'm used to driving in it. It doesn't really scare me. I'm just extra cautious around other people because I totally get that some people it's their first time driving in the snow.
Morning drives like today's really hammer home a point to practice those safe driving habits, such as keeping a safe following distance and slowing down for inclement weather. It seems like every year, Breck, we have to be reminded of how to drive in the snow.
I know, especially coming off that very warm October, but November, a different story, as we've kind of seen a clash of seasons where we had some fall temperatures the day before, actually record-breaking temperatures, and then bringing it down. Yeah, the snow this morning posing all kinds of problems throughout the morning commute. Quiet right now as we give you a view from our Natural History Museum camera. University of Utah looking west. We have a few clouds over the mountains still, but the showers are gone. This storm is moving away, but yeah, it left its mark, especially across some of the higher terrain. As we show you some of the snow totals, we're out to picking up 11 inches of new snow. Solitude, 5.5 inches. Even as we look towards central and southern Utah, you can see Bryan Head, they received 3 inches over the past 24 hours. Now some bench areas as well as valleys. How about Tooele coming in at 3 inches? There are a couple locations throughout the valleys getting 1 to 2 inches. Suncrest, a little bit higher up, 2.4 inches again here over the past 24 hours. Now highs today getting up into the 50s, but we experienced these temperatures early morning, 2:30 a.m. is when we had some warmer temperatures ahead of the cold front. But once the front hit in the morning hours throughout the day, we saw temperatures only in the 30s and low 40s. Right now, though, we stand at 42 degrees in Ogden, 37 right now at this hour in Salt Lake City, currently 25 degrees in Park City. So temperatures quickly dropping as we are clearing out. We are expecting to see overnight lows getting down into the 20s and 30s for most spots. So as we take a look at the temperature change over the past 24 hours, yeah, we're feeling that chill here and getting prepared for tomorrow. As we are drying out, we're going to be looking at mostly clear conditions, maybe a few clouds rolling through as we're seeing currently. As you're exiting the state, maybe a little bit of moisture as you make your move over towards Grand Junction. But here across northern Utah, we are expecting to see mostly clear conditions as temperatures getting down into the low 30s. So starting tomorrow morning, no issues for your morning commute. But when's our next storm? We'll check on that coming up in just a bit.
All right, thank you, Breck. Coming up, we break down all of the latest additions to the incoming Trump administration and shed some light on some potential picks from Utah. All of this as a New York judge makes a ruling on President-elect Trump's sentencing in his hush money case. After being convicted in the hush money case in New York, President-elect Donald Trump has yet to find out his sentence. A New York judge was expected to rule today on whether to dismiss the business fraud conviction based on the U.S. Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity. But that did not happen. Scripps News legal affairs correspondent Ava Joy Burnett has the latest.
The judge who's overseeing the hush money case against former President Donald Trump has agreed to postpone a key decision on whether or not this case should be dismissed because of presidential immunity. Both defense attorneys and prosecutors submitted this request to the judge for a delay in his decision. Defense attorneys say the former president's case should be dismissed because he has presidential immunity. They've also pointed to the fact that special counsel Jack Smith has asked another judge to remove some upcoming deadlines in the January 6th case against former President Donald Trump. This could be the first step to removing that case against the former president altogether. Here's a portion of an email that one of the defense attorneys for the former president sent to prosecutors and the court. They wrote, "The stay and dismissal are necessary to avoid unconstitutional impediments to President Trump's ability to govern," which is the broader argument that we made to the district attorney's office on Friday. The prosecution once again has agreed to a delay in this key decision on presidential immunity, but they're also acknowledging two major things. Number one, they are acknowledging that a jury has already found the former president guilty on 34 felony counts in this case. Former President Donald Trump was accused of approving a $130,000 payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels in order to cover up an affair that they had. The former president has repeatedly denied having this affair. But prosecutors are also acknowledging that former President Donald Trump is now president-elect and he will be inaugurated come January. Since this decision on presidential immunity has been postponed, we do not know as yet how the judge will move forward with sentencing. He's asked prosecutors to submit paperwork by next week Tuesday discussing how they think he should move forward. Ava Joy Burnett, Scripps News, Washington.
Some Utahns have had their names floated to work in President-elect Trump's next administration. The Salt Lake Tribune reports Utah Senator Mike Lee is being considered for U.S. Attorney General, and former Utah Congressman Chris Stewart is also being considered as a possible National Intelligence Director. While in Congress, he served on the House Intelligence Committee. For the second night, President-elect Trump is making a lot of announcements to his new administration. Billionaires Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will lead a new Department of Government Efficiency. In a statement, President-elect Trump says the purpose of the department is to, quote, dismantle government bureaucracy, slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies. Fox News host Pete Hegseth has been chosen to be the next Secretary of Defense. President-elect Trump called Hegseth, quote, tough, smart, and a true believer in America first. Hegseth is an Army veteran of Iraq, Afghanistan, and Guantanamo Bay. He has earned 2 Bronze Stars and a Combat Infantry's badge. Mr. Trump has selected South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary. The Department of Homeland Security oversees Customs and Border Protection, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and the Secret Service. It has a $60 billion budget and hundreds of thousands of employees. Noem has closely aligned with Donald Trump on some of his most hardline immigration policies and rhetoric in the past. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee will serve as U.S. Ambassador to Israel. President-elect Trump says Huckabee loves Israel and will work tirelessly to bring about peace in the Middle East. Huckabee's daughter, current Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, served as President-elect Trump's press secretary during his first administration. Back here at home, check out this video from Snowbird. The resort got a few inches of snow in this storm. They're expected to open in about 2 weeks on Thanksgiving, and so if you don't have your skis waxed up by now, you have been given fair warning, everybody.
Are you ready to go?
No. But I know when they're opening, so there you go.
We have some time. Yeah, this storm kind of helped me get into the mood here where we saw the snow both in the valleys and the mountains. The mountains picking up anywhere on the low end, 3 inches, upwards of close to a foot of snow, as we mentioned in Alta. Of course, the snow falling through the valleys, covering the pumpkins, covering your lawn. As we're going to look at more snow in the forecast looking ahead. We're going to get a break, though, where the high today, 58 degrees, above average, but we hit this at 2:30 a.m. Overnight, we still have the south winds before the cold front hit in the morning and dropped those temperatures. As I mentioned, we experienced mainly 30s and 40s here throughout the day. Right now, outside, we're at 35 degrees in Salt Lake City. Winds have been calming down. The clouds moving away. We're not seeing the precipitation. We get a break. And for tomorrow, as we're clearing out, it's going to be a cold night, but with that break, temperatures back on the rise. Tomorrow, about on average where we should be for this time of year, which is low 50s. We're going to see some sunshine here through the rest of the work week, but we've got another weekend storm and then another one behind it, which will continue to bring a possibility of some rain and snow and definitely putting more snow up in the mountains. Now, St. George, not seeing much of a chance here for the next several days. Maybe an isolated threat heading into Monday, that second storm pushing through. You're going to see some winds and some cooler temperatures, but northern Utah looks to get slammed here. Friday night through Saturday, that comes in, that next cold front. Again, a mixture of rain and snow, like we saw today, where we got rain and then snow and then maybe turning back into rain. Especially in northern Utah, though, you'll see mainly snow showers and then another hit as we go Sunday night through Monday. So 2 storms still on track, but as we're clearing out right now, we're just seeing a few clouds mainly over the mountains as that drier air pushes in. That storm system exiting the state, providing for some active weather through Colorado. But this next storm in its position coming through again as it's going to be hitting the Pacific Northwest, digging further south and then pushing through the state again as we look for early Saturday morning. But for tonight, we're going to be looking at partly cloudy skies here across northern Utah. But as we are clearing out, temperatures will plummet as we get down into the low 30s here along the Wasatch Front. 20s as you look towards west central Utah. Some areas also getting into the teens. Looks like we'll be looking at clear conditions in St. George. And then we'll be looking at overnight lows getting down near 30 degrees. Now, for tomorrow morning's commute, a lot different here. A different story for sure. Whereas we move through the morning, we'll be looking at a few high clouds around, but you're going to see also a nice dose of some sunshine as temperatures will be reaching the low 50s heading into the afternoon, but no issues either for the morning or for the afternoon commute with the official high, or expected high, I should say, for Ogden and Salt Lake City. Low 50s as well as in Provo, mid 40s in Park City. We'll be looking at the flow coming in out of the west, seeing a lot of sunshine across central and southern Utah, northern Utah, just a few high clouds here and there. Now for St. George, gearing up, getting ready for the weekend as we'll be looking at 60s and some cooler temperatures on Friday with some winds. That first front comes through, drops temperatures. You don't see a chance of showers, only about a 20% possibility with that second wave hitting on Monday, as we'll keep temperatures next week in the 50s. So we kind of go up and down here as we look where temperatures climb up into the upper 50s, then mid 50s on Friday. Then we get hit with the storm, and then it's all 40s with the double dose there of that mixture of rain and snow, and definitely snow up in the mountains. Take a look on Tuesday. We're only going to see highs in the 30s. So more snow to come to help for the ski resorts, but enjoy the 50s here for the next 3 days.
Nu Skin in Provo had another round of layoffs yesterday. The company would not say how many people were idled. Our content partners at the Salt Lake Tribune report the layoffs were anticipated after quarterly and annual reports last year. Nu Skin laid off about 5% of its workforce last December after a softer than expected third quarter. Third quarter earnings this year dropped another 13.8% to $430 million. With the reductions yesterday, Nu Skin anticipates saving $45 to $65 million by the end of the year. The company also lost 15% of its customer base and 20% of its paid affiliates in the third quarter this year. If you have T-Mobile, you might have been without service this afternoon. According to downdetector.com, the number of service outages for the cell company in Utah was just over 11,000 at about 1 o'clock. Nationally, there were more than 19,000 shortly before 12:30. T-Mobile sent a statement to Fox 13 News saying a facility in the Salt Lake area had a brief mechanical issue that impacted connectivity for some customers in that market, but this is now resolved and service is restored. We apologize for the inconvenience. Coming up, the former president of Utah Tech University in St. George is not only the focus of a federal lawsuit here, but also a second emergency meeting at his new job at Missouri State University. Plus, the big public safety bond appears to be defeated at the ballot box in Salt Lake County. So what happens next? And we'll break down the efforts to improve Park City's historic Main Street. Former president of Utah Tech University, Richard Biff Williams, is the focus of a federal lawsuit from his time in St. George and is now attracting attention at his new job as president of Missouri State University. Weeks after becoming president of MSU, Williams is apologizing to the staff and students there for his role in a prank that led to a federal lawsuit filed by 3 Utah Tech staffers. The lawsuit claims Williams left vegetables shaped like male genitalia and a note on the doorstep of a university official recovering from surgery. Today, the Springfield News Leader in Missouri reported MSU's Board of Governors held 2 emergency meetings behind closed doors. Details of those meetings have not been released. It appears the $507 million bond for public safety in Salt Lake County is headed for failure. It would have combined Salt Lake County's 2 jails into one and built a new Justice and Accountability Center to reduce a revolving door of crime, substance abuse, and mental health problems in the Salt Lake Valley. It was seen as a way to deal with jail overcrowding and help reduce problems tied to homelessness. But voters narrowly rejected it. County leaders have heard different reasons why.
Not everybody understood it, and I heard from a lot of people who said, I saw it, I read it, I just didn't even vote on it because I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it.
This was a complex proposal, and I think in a year, if you look at the national returns, people are really concerned, and I understand it. The cost of milk right now, the cost of eggs and housing and everything in between. So we were asking people to pay more, but I would say that in the end they will pay less by investment.
Backers of the bond are now planning to regroup. There's talk of shifting some funding around to cover some initiatives and reaching out to the governor and legislature for help. County leaders aren't ruling out putting another bond before voters in a couple of years with education on what it would pay for. Well, Park City is reimagining its historic Main Street. Today, the city invited residents to discuss future investments and improvements to the Main Street area ahead of the 2034 Winter Olympics. Residents shared their thoughts on the city's plans to make the area more accessible and successful.
I love the idea of how they're handling accessibility on Main Street with the the tram or minibus that'll go up and down Main Street.
There are some more things that they could do to attract locals, like affordable dining, maybe like a food truck area.
How do we make that experience of being on the street more pedestrian friendly? Today, as great as it is, that experience is a little car centric. Those sidewalks are a little narrow. We have 2 lanes of traffic and 2 lanes of parking.
The advisory committee will keep refining the plan based on feedback from residents. Then in January, they'll present the final concept to the city council.
With the whirl of a wheel, Fox 13's Max Roth hits a random road for an off-the-cuff outdoors adventure.
A lot to do here.
This time to the Wawa Mountains, exploring the mysterious Crystal Peak.
This is a much younger and more fragile mountain than those surrounding it.
Meeting a family caring for a ranch in an untouched valley.
This way of life are just becoming less and less common.
And uncovering the ghostly ruins of Frisco. Max Tracks, coming up next.
This month's Max Tracks took me to the Wawa Mountains. The name Wawa sounds like the desperate, raspy request of a parched wanderer. Wawa. Well, parched describes that region. It was home to thousands who got water by wagon and rail during a frontier mining boom. Now, just one family lives there, making the most of limited spring water. And if you're adventurous, you can experience history hands-on and glimpse unique beauty in solitude. One landmark I wanted to see in the Wawas, this amazing mountain. It's called Crystal Peak. I had only seen it in photographs. The Utah Geological Survey says a volcanic eruption over 30 million years ago melded diverse material into a white stew they call Tunnel Spring Tuff. The low-lying layer lifted at a fault line, creating a new mountain at the north end of the Wawa Range. And if you hike to its slopes, the mountain reveals even more character. This giant mountain of rock looks so imposing, but all those pockmarks you see along it, well, there's some close to me here, and take a look. Those are evidence that this is a much younger and more fragile mountain than those surrounding it. See here. Geologists call the mini caverns Tofoni, and the larger ones look designed for a prone person, sparking the imagination of children and this childish adult. Get all the way in. Whoa! Whoa! Didn't take me far. There wasn't another human being within miles of my camp, but I remembered the first time I heard of this place. It was at the Utah State Capitol almost exactly 2 years before my visit.
I live at Wawa Ranch. I own the spring complex. It's my everything.
That's Mark Winch, fighting against efforts to take water from the ground below his ranch, so I knew someone lived somewhere in this largely unoccupied landscape.
My husband is a 6th generation rancher.
I knocked on the ranch house door. In the early autumn, the porch was an inviting place to sit and talk to Nikki Winch, Mark's wife.
And I did not grow up in this world.
But she's grown to love it.
My mother-in-law had told me the desert has its own type of beauty. You just have to look for it.
That was more than 25 years ago when she and her husband Mark left college in Logan to run his family's operation.
We're 25 miles from the nearest neighbor, and it was just the 2 of us here. I called my mom a lot in the beginning.
Now, Nikki is the mom. 6 children raised on the ranch. 3 are grown. A daughter married and ranching in Duchesne County. 2 sons who see the family ranch in their future.
And my husband always tells him, you can make more money with your mind than I can with my back. But I'm like, they love this just like he does.
Right now, Mark and the kids are in the hills. It's time to round up cattle to move to their winter range.
I'm usually the lunch lady or the treat bringer or the water because I am better in a truck than on a horse because I didn't do it.
Oh, yeah.
He started riding when he was 3 and so did my kids.
Nikki credits her husband for their children's self-reliance and love of the land, though in this family story, she's the one who adapted to the unknown.
He would tell me when we dated, and I tease him about this all the time, he would say, this is probably where we'll end up. Most likely we will be at the ranch, and it's going to be a lot of hard work, and we're never going to have very much money.
A little nervous. Here at the ranch, Nikki isn't alone. Many of their 1,200 head of cattle are already corralled.
long have you been with this Yondo?
Ranch hand Yondo watches the herd. And the dog circling the house, that is Bullet. With the rest of the family in the hills, he's watching me closely. Those hills hold history, including old mining towns. This ranch house tells part of that story.
It was a train depot, and so before this house was built, that was the ranch house they brought down here.
Here's a picture, courtesy of the Utah Historical Society, showing the train on the southern Utah Railroad spur that ran from Newhouse, a ghost town on the Winches Ranch property, to Frisco. So I'm at the site of a ghost town called Frisco. The Utah Historical Society wrote, by 1879, the United States Annual Mining Review and Stock Ledger was calling the Horn Silver Mine in Frisco unquestionably the richest silver mine in the world now being worked. You've got some ruined buildings of pretty substantial stone along here. The one that's standing the most over here, a big structure, you get a sense that you might be looking at what was once Main Street. Here's what it looked like in the old mining days. The most impressive structure still standing may have once been the company store, or maybe this bank. The Historical Society's report says, like many a boomtown in the West, its streets were lined with saloons, 21 according to one count, gambling dens, and houses of prostitution. One writer called it Dodge City, Tombstone, Sodom, and Gomorrah all rolled into one. Eventually, Frisco's reputation had become so tarnished that Marshall Pearson from Pioche, Nevada, was hired to clean up the town. He allegedly told the lawless elements he did not intend to make arrests. Instead, he planned to shoot on sight anyone he saw breaking the law, and he supposedly killed 6 outlaws on his first night in town. The Horn Silver Mine collapsed in 1885 with enough warning signs that no one died, except the town itself, abandoned by 1920. But its 5 charcoal kilns, rising as high as 30 feet, still stand sentinel at the eastern edge of the Wawa Valley, now home to just one resilient Utah family. The Wawa Ranch gets a whole lot from a limited supply of spring water. Before it gets to the cattle and the crops, it spins turbines in a small power plant that provides all of their electricity. And they also have strong cell service from towers on the top of Frisco Peak, which is the high point of the range east of the Wawas, the San Francisco Mountains. In studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Wow.
Amazing.
I have to be honest. When I heard that Max was going to do the story on the Wawa, I had no idea the amount of history in that area.
And a full story, right?
Incredible.
From his selection, finding one family, and then from that,
yeah,
the whole
finding
history
the rest of Frisco and all of that.
the wild, wild west, right
My
here
goodness
in our neighborhood.
gracious, right here in Utah. That was very, very cool.
He does a good job.
Yeah.
All right, after the break, of course, we're going to be talking about your weather and what we're expected with the storm that hit this morning. We get a break, but we've got another one on the way. I'll tell you when it will hit, again, after the break.
The Jazz played their first NBA Cup game tonight against the Suns. Could they start group play with a win? And Kyle Whittingham delivered bad news after the Utes practice today. 2 offensive players out with season-ending injuries. We'll hear from Kyle coming up in sports.
I know you say we've got warmer temperatures ahead, but winter's here, man.
Yeah.
They were out plowing today.
I know, and the day before, people were golfing. This is
Utah.
This is Utah.
That's how we live life here
I know.
in Utah.
Season-changing weather patterns here where, bringing winter back as we're going to be warming up and returning back to fall weather as we look over the next couple of days. But it's chilly out there as we've been clearing out throughout most of the state. The storm exiting the state now, providing for some active weather throughout Colorado and heading into the Midwest there. Temperatures in the mid to upper 30s in Logan and Salt Lake City. Price right now, you're at 34 degrees, 51 in St. George. We take a look long range from the Climate Prediction Center, where we've been looking at a series of storms rolling through. We're going to be seeing here, at least throughout most of the state over the next 6 to 10 days, average precipitation, but you look off towards the northwest, where looking ahead, once we get through a couple of storms, we're going to be looking at an extended period where we get a break, but we'll welcome in some more storms to try and help continue to build the snowpack to get more of these ski resorts opening up. Of course, really be looking at our water supply, where the storm moving on that impacted us here throughout most of the day. That high pressure building in, we warm up where temperatures actually get close to 60 degrees here along the Wasatch Front right before our next storm system hitting. Early Saturday morning, it's bringing the cold air and a mixture of some rain and snow, with an additional one right behind it, where we'll be looking at Monday and Tuesday, another storm system rolling through the region before, again, this high pressure really strengthens and we really start warming back up. But we're going to see a little bit of a roller coaster ride here with temperatures for tonight, as we'll be dipping down into the low 30s. Mostly clear skies, so a little bit colder starting off for your Wednesday morning, where highs tomorrow close to average. Low 50s from Ogden through Salt Lake City down through Provo. Looks like we'll top off at 47 degrees in Logan as well as in Evanston. How about low 40s in Vernal? So some areas will be holding on to the cold air throughout most of the day. Through central southwestern Utah, there'll be a few areas that do reach the low 60s. We're at 60s for St. George as we move through the week into the weekend, where that first storm doesn't bring much change for St. George except for the temperatures, where we go from 60s to 50s, a few clouds and some winds. We don't see much rain in the forecast. Maybe a slight risk as we look towards the beginning of next week. But next week is definitely going to be a cold spell, at least for a few days before we start warming up in the following weekend. Now for northern Utah, as we go from low to upper 50s, keeping it in the 50s, close to average. And then we drop at 40s Saturday and Sunday with that mixture of some rain and snow. And just quickly, another storm following right behind it by Monday. More active weather expected, and very cold temperatures as we head into Tuesday, with overnight lows in the 20s and highs only reaching the upper 30s. So yes, we're going to be experiencing winter weather kind of repeating, but at least for the next few days, we get to enjoy some nice temperatures.
Thank you, Breck. Just real quickly here before we get to sports, we're tracking breaking news in downtown Salt Lake right now. There's a heavy police presence near 300 North, 900 West after a car crash. You're looking live at the scene right now. We're working to get more details about what led up to this crash. But until we do, at least avoid the area for the time being while officers investigate. Again, that is near 300 North and 900 West near downtown Salt Lake City. Jeff?
Well, the hits keep on coming to the Utah football team. Quarterback Brandon Rose and tight end Brant Kuithe are both out the rest of the way with season-ending injuries. So Isaac Wilson is back as the Utes starting quarterback this Saturday at Colorado. Rose and Kuithe played big roles in the Utes building a 21-10 halftime lead over BYU on Saturday. While Kuithe left the game with an injury and did not return, Rose played the entire game. Utah has now lost two quarterbacks to season-ending injuries with Rose and Cam Rising.
And Rose is out for the season, which, the remaining three games, he'll be unavailable with a lower leg injury that will require surgery, so that was disappointing, and confirmation that Brant is what they expected with the injury, or has what they expected with the injury. So you just got to keep moving forward, and next guy up mentality, as you hear every week. That's the issue. So that's where we're at. So Isaac Wilson will be our starter.
BYU moved up from 9th to 6th in this week's college football playoff rankings after they rallied to beat Utah. BYU now 9-0 heading into the week's home game against Kansas. And while the win over the Utes was great, they're moving on to the next game.
I feel like it's the same thing when we played Oklahoma State, how we came back and won right at the end. We celebrated the win, but we had to kind of flush it because next week things could be different, and we can't really dwell on the things that we did in the past. We only can hope to look for the things that we can accomplish in the future. So I feel like everybody knows that what we did last week is not good enough to get the job done for this week. So everybody's ready to look forward to the next game.
A new court on the floor at Delta Center for the Jazz first NBA Cup game tonight against the Phoenix Suns. Colin Sexton, 3 of his 15. Here's Jordan Clarkson, nice pass to Kyle Filipowski, scores at the rim. The rookie had 18 points off the bench. And how about this shot from Keontae George? Drives off the glass and in. Oh. Jazz were down 10, though, in the third. John Collins has been playing well for the Jazz. Powers his way in for 2 of his team-high 29 points. He also had 11 rebounds. But the top scorer in the game was Devin Booker. Stops on a dime. hits the jumper. He had 31 points. Lauri Markkanen did have a big jam in the fourth quarter, but the Suns won the game. Group Cup play, 120-112. Utah played at home against Queens. Gabe Madsen here led the Utes with 24 points, knocks down the three. The Utes beat the Royals 96-65 to improve to 3-0. That same Queens team will play BYU tomorrow in Provo, so making the rounds in Utah.
Yeah, the Utes need some good news about
man,
now.
I feel so sorry for that team.
You know, I'm thrilled for BYU.
Sure.
Thrilled for BYU, but I'm weeping for Utah. That's so hard. Oh, boy.
Yep.
Well, next year will be better, for sure. We'll be right back. Finally, this Saturday in Erda, Utah's Best Beards will return for the third edition of the Iron Beard competition. Kevin Clement started it. Despite his lack of a beard, he knows a thing or two about what it takes to be an Iron Beard winner.
It takes more than just having a long beard. It takes, fullness. It takes shape.
Between my kids and my grandkids, they're like, Dad, it's pretty gray. Let's let it grow out, see what happens around the Christmas time. So I let it grow.
It's intense, honestly. There's a lot of guys who will show up with facial hair, and all you're doing is just eyeballing each other of like, what are you going to do when you hit that stage?
Oh, yeah. Every dollar from this year's entry and spectator fees will go to Switch Point and Tooele Community Center that provides resources to those experiencing homelessness. The 2024 Iron Beard competition being held at 5373 North Oswego Road in Erda. You can register at the Black Cat Barbershop or sign up at the event this Saturday morning.
There's no way I could compete in that.
Just the nods they give each other. And they're like,
Well,
I know.
and they're significant nods because you see it all flapping like that. QuickCast is up next.